My boyfriend, M32, read my journal, F29, and is shattered. Can this be saved? We live together and have been together for about 3 years. He read my private journal while I was out of the house and found things he didn't like. I have had some doubts the past 6 months, and when I was having a particularly emotional day a couple of months back, made a list of the reasons I was considering ending things in my journal. Edit, this was password protected on my laptop. He has been using it for emails this week as his laptop is being repaired. He apparently stumbled upon it, not sure how that is possible, and admits he should not have looked, but is mostly just angry. It would have been extremely hurtful to read, some things I had spoken about, but many I had not. I am not great with confrontation and admit I should speak up more often when things bother me. But I also think it is normal to not share every negative thought with your partner. As this list was written in an emotional state, it was also a little dramatized. I do not truly feel everything I wrote down. He is furious and upset, has called me evil, nasty, fake, and childish, and thinks I hate him, and we have all but broken up this afternoon. I am devastated. AMD, while I am angry that my privacy was invaded, I am mostly feeling a world of shame and guilt for inadvertently hurting the person I care about most. Wondering if anyone has been through anything similar, and whether this may be overcome or perhaps not. Opinions on the above are welcome. I'm frustrated by my office's constant Nerf gun battles. I'd love to know your take on what seems to be a ubiquitous addition to every startup, the arsenal of Nerf guns and ammo. About 2 months ago, one of our C-levels invested in a large number of Nerf guns and several packs of darts, and now they're becoming flat-out office supplies with new orders coming in regularly. Nerf battles break out not quite daily, but they do happen with alarming frequency. I would get frustrated because my old desk was in the middle of Nerf Alley, though we have open plan of course, so nowhere is safe. The aforementioned C-level took a shot at me one day, nailing me in the back of the head. Your hair, bright red, makes the perfect target, which I made clear I didn't appreciate. The day that I got 2 darts to the face, one in the jaw, one in the temple, while just sitting at my desk trying to concentrate on something was the day that I kind of lost it. Not in a yelling screaming kind of way, but in a holding up the dart saying really, you guys, kind of way. My boss says I need to grab a gun and fight back. I say no, because I don't want to be involved in any of those shenanigans. My new desk is more isolated, but I still get a few that find their way into my realm. I also know that once this row fills, I'll be more in the line of fire. I'm starting to get really testy about it, which I know I shouldn't be. It's just so frustrating and annoying when you're trying to concentrate on something and, even with headphones on, you're constantly distracted by flying missiles and loud clacking of the guns themselves. I enjoy fun in the workplace, but getting whacked with flying missiles, no matter how harmless, is not my idea of a good time, and those guns are crazy loud. How can I handle this more graciously and not be the office bitch? Update December 3rd, 2014, 4 months later. About a week or so after this got posted, I talked to the other person who sat in my row to ask what she thought about setting up a Nerf Switzerland in our area. She was totally fine with that. She wasn't quite as bothered by the Nerf ing as I was, but she did find it somewhat annoying. I went to my boss and asked if it would be possible to set up such a thing. He denied my request, saying that the Nerf thing was a fad and that it would die out in time. He's kind of right. The battles are not so much all-out wars anymore. Instead it's an occasional, limited skirmish and it's relegated to a couple of rows, none of which I sit in. But I also know it's really just a matter of time before something else pops up. Before this, it was scooters around the office. Before that it was mini helicopters. Those were around during my interview and were distracting me during my second interview. And based on this, I'm sure that it'll be handled the same way. Indulgence, amusement, and then ignoring it until it goes away. Wash, rinse, repeat. The comments about deciding whether or not this is a culture I want to be in have never been far from my mind. Shortly after I took this job I realized it really wasn't my cup of tea. But, with the market being what it is, having taken a year off of work to finish school, and a resume filled with short-term contract jobs, I felt like I really needed to stick with this one for a bit so I could have something with a little more staying power on my resume. The problem I have now is that while I am job hunting, I'm actually getting to a decent career place at this job. I'm getting some added responsibility, someone to manage, and I'm being consulted on a lot of things I wasn't before, plus a raise, which finally brings me into the pay range this job should be in. Not to mention that my chosen career path seems to be heading in a new direction, which I'm not horribly fond of and really don't want to delve into. So finding the right job has been much more difficult. So I'm taking my time finding a place that will be a job that I really do want, can do well, and has a culture that I fit in. I don't want to jump too fast. That's how I ended up here in the first place, but I am still casting about. If and when the next distraction thing appears here, I'm going to try and tackle it earlier with management to see what we can do to keep it to a dull roar. Hopefully my next place will be Nerf-free. One day later, an update to this update came in. So in a follow-up to my follow-up, I just had to tell you the irony. Today I'm sitting at a coworker's desk discussing work things, and all of a sudden, I have a Nerf dart in my side. Just, out of the blue. Look over, another coworker has a gun in his lap and is just idly playing with it. He apologized immediately, and I informed him that I kind of have a thing about the Nerf guns. The person I was talking to piped up, yeah, basically, don't aim those at her like, ever. Not in a judging towards me way, just in a please respect her boundaries kind of way. At least someone here gets it. Too bad she's not my direct supervisor. This is a repost sub. I am not the OOP. Do not contact the OOPs or comment on linked posts. Remember Rule 7. I, 34F, went to a wedding with another man after my husband, 30M, had ghosted me for multiple days. It is worth telling him? My, 34F, husband, 30M, and I have been married for a year and dated for 2 years before our wedding. Of course we had fights, but nothing like what has been happening recently. We moved to a new apartment this year and he started acting weird. He wouldn't talk to me about anything. He never wanted to have sex, but still spent hours masturbating in the bathroom. He didn't want to go out anymore, but pushed me into going out with friends, because he wanted to be alone. He started arguments all the time for dumb reasons. He frequently didn't come to bed and sleep on the couch, instead, claiming he was working. A month ago, it was my best friend's birthday. My husband and I were going, but at the last minute, he got angry and refused to go. He insisted I should go, and practically forced me out of the house. My friend's brother, Ethan, 37, was there. I haven't seen him in years since he moved away for work. I used to have a huge crush on him when I was in high school. He told me he was back in town and planning to stay. We have been casually texting since then. Last week, my husband and I had another fight. He said he couldn't tolerate living with me anymore because I was too annoying and was always harassing him after I complained about us never going out anymore. He told me he needed time away and was going to stay at a hotel for a few days. I tried to call and text for him come back, but he ghosted me. Ethan texted me Friday. I told him my husband left. He told me I needed to get out of the house and not think about it. He had a wedding of a friend from work the next day and invited me to go with him. I love weddings and didn't want to spend another day crying, so I agreed. We had a great time at the wedding. Nothing happened between us, but I realized that the two of us being there could be misinterpreted, so I told him to not tell anyone. Yesterday, my husband returned. He cried and apologized for everything he has been doing these last few months. He promised that things are going to change and that he is starting therapy right away. He told me he didn't mean any of the stuff he said and that he loves me more than anything in the world. It is clear he has been dealing with issues, but I love him and want to save our marriage. I am unsure if I should tell him the wedding with Ethan. It doesn't matter, and telling him might make his situation worse, but there is also the risk of him finding out.
Final update, aita for telling my sister she's not allowed to bring her homemade food to Thanksgiving because her cooking is ruining the meal. Thanksgiving dinner is officially over, and I genuinely don't know where to start. I feel like I just lived through a fever dream of culinary chaos and family drama, and I need a moment to breathe before I can even process everything. My cousin and I are heading out for drinks to dissect all of it because honestly, what just happened deserves its own Netflix special. I'll post photos later when I get home, but for now, let me try to give you the rundown. So, my sister showed up earlier than expected, which I should have seen coming. She came in like a storm, carrying not just her 3 dishes but also this giant platter wrapped in foil, which she was clearly trying to make a big deal about. She immediately started rearranging the table, moving my dishes to the side so hers could take center stage. She even brought her own table runner and candles, saying something about setting the mood for a creative dining experience. I decided not to fight her on it because, at this point, I just wanted to get through the night without a blow-up. Her trio experience was, well, let's just say it was everything I feared and more. She started with a glittery sweet potato mash that somehow managed to taste like a mix of sugar and sand. The glitter wasn't even edible glitter, it was craft glitter, which I didn't realize until one of the kids said, "This is crunchy," and I looked closer. Then there was the cranberry and oyster relish. Yes, oysters and cranberries. It looked like someone had spilled jam into clam chowder, and the smell alone was enough to make me lose my appetite. Finally, she brought a pumpkin curry casserole that had raisins in it for some reason and this weird fishy smell that clung to the air for way too long. But the piece de resistance was her surprise centerpiece dish, which turned out to be a turkey gelatin mold. Yes, she took ground turkey, mixed it with some kind of broth and seasonings, and turned it into a wobbly, translucent mold shaped like a turkey. She even garnished it with parsley and cherry tomatoes to make it festive. I wish I were kidding. The entire table went silent when she unveiled it, except for my cousin, who immediately started coughing to cover up what I'm pretty sure was a laugh. Things hit their peak when my mom, who has been defending her this entire time, took one bite of the gelatin mold and just froze. She didn't say anything, but you could see the regret on her face. My sister, noticing the lack of enthusiasm, decided to go on this long speech about how Thanksgiving food is too boring and how she's trying to challenge our palates. She even called my ham and mashed potatoes uninspired, which was rich coming from someone serving glitter sand potatoes. The breaking point came when my aunt, who's usually the peacekeeper, tried the gelatin mold and actually gagged. She tried to be polite about it, but my sister saw her reaction and completely lost it. She started yelling about how nobody in the family supports her and how we're all stuck in the past with our unoriginal food. She even accused me of sabotaging her dishes by not hyping them up enough to everyone. At this point, half the table was trying not to laugh, and the other half was just staring at their plates, probably wondering how we got here. My sister ended up storming out of the house, but not before saying something along the lines of, "You'll regret not appreciating my vision when I'm famous." She left most of her food behind, which my cousin and I quietly threw out after dinner. The rest of the night actually turned out pretty nice once the tension was gone. My dad's emergency ham was a lifesaver, and everyone agreed that next year, we're either going to a restaurant or just skipping Thanksgiving altogether. So now I'm sitting here wondering how this even became my life. I'll post photos later because you all need to see the turkey gelatin mold to believe it, but for now, I'm off to grab a drink, or 3, with my cousin to laugh/cry over everything that went down. This Thanksgiving was truly something else, and I don't know whether to feel relieved it's over or brace myself for whatever fresh chaos my sister has planned for next year. Stay tuned for photos, it's going to be worth it.